What adjustments would you make to the current Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid programs? Currently, 20% of our budget is spent on Social Security, with another 23% on Medicare and Medicaid. How can the United States settle this debt with such a high percentage of our spending debt?
Well, first off, we need to look at folks like myself raising the age for younger people. Clearly, a lot of folks don't want to have that discussion, but this discussion is going to have to be had. When you look at hospitals, for example, when I was a member of the House of Representatives, I put in a bill that actually said everybody ought to have skin in the game. And so when you walk in an ER, you realize that a lot of people don't pay a thing, but they go in there as a general practitioner because it's quicker for them and they don't have to pay anything. So where you or I have a high deductible to go see a doctor, they walk in the ER, cost them nothing. Cost us threefold sometimes. So I put in a simple bill that said they ought to have a $2 copay. And you would have thought that that was a bad thing. I think everybody needs skin in the game. We need to look at tort reform. We need to look at anything we can to make it more competitive. People need to know actually where their bill is spending. And so they need to have all the information they can. We should have health care savings accounts. We need to do everything we can to coach people. And we also need to do away with so many of the practices where we have to have extra testing just to cover a doctor's back. That's ridiculous, and we need to engage in all these discussions as quickly as possible.
Mr. Rice.
Thank you very much. It's a great question. Obviously, the most pressing issue facing our nation today is our debt and our deficit, and Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. These things are all a huge part of that. Social Security is a promise that was made by our government decades ago, and we've got to make that promise ironclad. For people who are in retirement or close to retirement, I don't think there should be any change. For those who are back a little bit, we're going to have some delays in qualification, I think, and we're also going to have maybe do some means testing. For younger people, I think there should be options for individual savings accounts. You know, there are plans out there. People have already looked at this, and we don't need to recreate the wheel. For example, the Ryan plan makes a lot of suggestions on tax structure, makes a lot of suggestions on entitlement reform that could get our country back on the right track. Because the biggest threat to our security, the biggest threat to this nation is this debt and deficit, and we've got to get control of it.
Ms. Collier.
I think we need to look at a couple of things. First of all, who's actually receiving the Medicare, the Social Security, and the Medicaid? You need to look at immigration. If you're a citizen of the United States, then you get it. If you're not a citizen of the United States, then you need to find out who's illegal. And you need to make sure that they don't receive it, because the citizens are the ones that pay it in. Second of all, I think we need to privatize Social Security. I have 4 daughters here. If it keeps going like it's going, there's not going to be anything for me, my husband, or our children. And so we need to look at our children and make sure that our children are taken care of, and make sure the people that have already paid into Social Security are taken care of. And I would rather manage my own money than have the government manage my money and take it and use it as they see fit, because that's where our problems started. They took it, they used it, and now we don't have any left.
I wish that we could get the money back from the previous Congresses that already spent. The $3 trillion that's gone missing. It's gone. It's nowhere to be found. You can look outside your window, it's not around. But what we need to do, we need to take care of the people that we promised. It wasn't our government that promised it. It was us, our representatives. We need to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves. The generation that's coming up, we need to give them hope and purpose. Let them know that if they want insurance, they can have insurance. What we need is affordable medical care, not affordable insurance. When you go to your doctor, you should be able to pay, not have to fill out forms and hope that your deductible isn't too high, that you don't have to fill out more paperwork because you lost the form. That medical care is affordable for all. Thank you.
Mr. Wellington.
Well, since I'm on Social Security and Medicare, I'm a little bit of an expert on this. Since I'm single, I went ahead and applied for it at age 62, even though they raised my age group up to 66. I was shocked. I'm going to say this. I am very much overpaid. The way the system is structured, these guys are all mentioning a promise. This promise is very vague. The Congress can change it. There's nothing written down. We need to have an audit. We need to define what it is, how it works. But this business where you can have a lot of low years and all of a sudden make a lot of money in the last 10 years of your working life and be paid on those last 10 years as though that's what you paid in your whole life is wrong. I'm overpaid. As far as Medicare, Andre's right there. You know, when you go to get your car fixed, you go and you pay for it. And but everybody's got this mindset that when it comes to medicine, somebody else should be paying for it. We've just got to change the entire mindset about medical care, and the same thing with Medicaid for the low-income people. They think it's free. So do the seniors. And they're grabbing everything they can get. They're just really stealing from the system.
Ms. Jenrette?
Well, everyone already knows that Social Security is not an entitlement program. It's what we pay into the system. It's your savings account the government has issued to us, whether we liked it or not. The first thing we need to do is appeal the 16th Amendment. That's called income tax. It's the very number one thing we have to do. And if I'm not mistaken, the fair tax folks have said by 2020, that is one of their goals, is to repeal the 16th Amendment. Yay, fair tax. Okay, so, also, Jim, I know exactly where all that money is. It's in Vegas, baby. We need to privatize medical care. It needs to be privatized. There, you know, for me to have to pay for someone else to go to the hospital really burns my behind, especially since I'm paying out the nose. And I think that Mr. Ballard is correct with the emergency room visits. Absolutely. Medical care should be accessible to everyone at the lowest levels. The Ryan plan doesn't go far enough as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Jordan?
That's a great question, because we can talk about spending all night long, and we need to deal with spending. I think everyone recognizes that, but if we don't deal with these programs, the ship still sinks. They're that much of the part of the process. As far as Social Security goes, to go down the line, Social Security, I don't recall anyone being included in the room that the government said, do you want to participate in this? They came and took our money out of our pocket without permission, and then they lied to us about how they were going to use it. Instead of putting the money aside for it to be there, they spent it on other projects. The short of it is, in the short run, you can't do anything about it, right? Or as far as the folks that are on it, it'd be a fraud committed on them to basically pull the rug out from the folks that are near at participating in Social Security. We need to look at raising the age for future generations, privatization. As to, I'm getting 15 seconds here, so I'll go quicker. As to Medicaid, we have a system that encourages fraud. We need to start with that and look at the qualifications that it takes to get on that system. But begin with understanding we're taking away the incentive for people to work.
Mr. Prosser?
First of all, we need to quit borrowing from the Social Security Trust Fund for other government spending in order to restore solvency, and we need to transition Social Security back to its original intent, which was to guard against poverty in old age, but it was not intended to be a person's sole retirement program. Those of us, and I will be 45 this year, we need to be part of that transition, and we need to provide other options so that folks have control over their own money in Social Security. With Medicare, we need to introduce free market economics into Medicare and into Medicaid. It's a planned economic system with fixed pricing, with third-party payers where folks are not paying attention to the spending because someone else is essentially paying the bill. So we need to introduce health savings accounts. We need to allow competition in terms of providers, in terms of insurance. It's a government-run monopoly that we have to end. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to control the cost of Medicare.
Okay, we're going to get the microphone down to Mr. Wallace. 1 minute.
I think in Social Security, it'd be nice to be able to privatize it, but your chances are you're not going to be able to pull that off. It's a very popular program. First, you need, like, to protect the Social Security Trust Fund, as has been stated. I think you need to raise the retirement age to about 70. Means testing the benefits is another thing that would work to help keep it solvent. And then, you know, you give some folks the option to opt out if they don't want to, if they're economically able not to accept Social Security. Might be something to give it some time. And then there's, of course, the cap on $106,000. You may end up having to raise that to some extent to make it solvent. Medicare, I think, is a much tougher one to solve. People pay, the average wage earner pays about $60,000 in